What's up, Doug with Deanie in the garage. In the last video, we put this amazing headliner in my first gen Dodge Dakota. I showed you how you could take some very inexpensive material. This is just fleece from Walmart or your local fabric store, and in an afternoon, completely revamp a truck or car that has a failing, falling, disgusting headliner, or maybe you just want to upgrade it. In this video, we're going to take that a step further, and we're going to finish it, because look at this. This is gross. I got these visors. They're the wrong color. They're sagging. They're gross. They're disgusting. You can see I already did the passenger side. Looks pretty good, right? Even we're able to keep the mirror in it. Oh buddy, today I'm going to show you how you guys can do that. It's super easy, barely even an inconvenience. Let's get into her. Alrighty friends, first step to this process, obviously you're going to have to remove your visor from the vehicle. In most vehicles, it's just going to be a couple fasteners. I got 3 Phillips screws right here. Got that bad boy out of the vehicle, and just like that, we're already on our way. Once you have her out of the truck, you want to put her on a table and just start giving her a once over and get an idea of how it's put together. Now, a lot of these are just a sandwich of a few materials and then they're sewed around the perimeter. If that's the case on yours, all you're going to do is just disassemble it. I found this funky weird pick that's in every set. Works really well. They also sell stitch rippers. You can probably get one at Wally World. But just get up under that thread and start ripping her out, pulling her out. And then once you got a little bit of a hole going, you can very carefully sneak a sharp blade in there like an OLFA and just start working it, and you'll pop the stitches real easy. Alrighty, there we go for the most part. And you can see what we're up against is a sandwich of different things. First of all, you got headliner material on the outside. You can go ahead and pull that off. It's that same foam that we were up against when we were doing the headliner last week. This old headliner visor had a pocket. We're not going to put the pocket back on, so you can remove that little bit of stretch in there. All right, then we're actually able to remove the different layers. Here's your interior piece. You can see it's got this metal sleeve, some particle board to give it some rigidity. This is like carpet backing material to take up a little space. And then here's the main event. This is what we're going to end up tracing, and this is what's going to ultimately give shape to our new visor. This is kind of just the skeleton. Let's put this aside for now. Now, if you do have old headliner foam on here, you're going to want to take a nice stiff brush, just like we did in the last video, and relieve this piece of any particulates that want to just kind of slough off like this. Blow everything off. Alrighty, now it's time to discuss the elephant in the room. And that elephant in the room is this guy right here. This is a sewing machine, that's right. This is a must sew method. Now I understand your concern about that because you don't know how to sew. You've never sewed, you've never had any interest in sewing, and you don't even own a sewing machine. Here's the long and the short of it. You should know how to sew, bud. If you know how to weld, you should know how to sew, seriously. So here's what I'm gonna do. This is gonna be a Sunday video. My Wednesday video is gonna be beginner sewing machine skills for the driveway monkey. Tune into that video, sub to the channel if you want to see it. Having basic sewing skills and a cheap sewing machine is the exact same as having basic welding skills and a welder. So tune in to that video. I'm going to tell you in that video also how to get yourself a nice, inexpensive quality machine, but we are going to need that for this one. So let's carry on. And much like the headliner proper, this is a good opportunity for you to have some fun. You will notice I didn't actually go with the exact same fabric. This visor is made of a complementary. It's almost this, but it doesn't have all the stars and planets. It doesn't have the brown or the light blue. And I thought it did a really nice job of complementing the rest of the headliner. You could absolutely go with the same material. I mean, clearly, do whatever you want. But just like the last one, you want to find something that has a little bit of thickness and a little bit of stretch. So fleece really is the guy because it's dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. You can get it at Walmart, or if you have like a Joann's fabric, something like that nearby, you can get it there pretty inexpensively. So here's that fabric. Like I mentioned last time, fleece has 2 sides. There's one side where it's going to be the pattern, but a little fuzzy and a little dull, and the other side is going to be the pattern, but sharp. That's the show side. We want to do our laying out on the dull side. So let's take this, lay it out. Now, a few Instagram shorts ago, I put up a video saying that I didn't really care for these Milwaukee ink salt markers, and I got the whole red army after my butt over that. But I will say they work delightfully for fabric, probably better than a regular Sharpie in that case. So if you got an ink salt that you're super disappointed for, this is a good project you can put her to use. So we're going to take our exterior piece, the cardboardy piece, and we want the folded seam to go on the inside. So we're literally going to take her like this, outline everything except for the fold. And I like to put a dotted line where the fold is, so I know. Again, this is going to be the back. You're never going to see any of this. So I remember. Then roll it right over. Make sure your fabric doesn't get bunched or crinkled, anything like that. And then do the same thing. Trace the other side. And there you go. Now we want to take our interior piece and kind of put it back in there so that we can determine where do we want to not sew. Because what we're essentially going to do is make a big sock that this whole thing slides over, and then we'll sew up the one edge. But we need these pieces and this guy to stick out. So let's put this back in the way it goes. As you can see, we're going to need a pretty big opening here for this one, and a smaller opening on this side for this one. So taking a look, that means we've got a pretty big opening right here. So I'm going to make a dotted line right here to remind myself not to sew. And then the same thing over here. We're going to sew to about here. And functionally, that's what that looks like. So the mounting side is sewn clean. This is a fold up on top. Down here is sewed on the inside. We slipped it all in from this way, and then we sewed right up here, which is very, very similar to how the original one was put together. And we're leaving spaces here and here with little tabs so we can tuck the extra fabric in, give it a nice clean look. And functionally, this is what that's going to look like on the layout. All the dotted lines represent no sew lines. So we've got our one side here, right? From here to here is going to be open. And then all we have to do is cut it out. So what I like to do is cut this out as one big square. We're going to take her and fold it right over this middle crease line. So since I'll be teaching you later this week how to sew, I'm just going to host this video as though y'all already saw that video, because I know a lot of you are already going to know this stuff. So we want to be sewing, we want to line up our black line on the edge of our foot. That's going to give us probably about 3/8 of an overhang there, which will give us the dimension, the thickness in the visor to make up the space, because if we sewed right on the line, there would never be enough room to sneak that guy in. So we want to double check where we were supposed to leave it open, double check that our spine is still lined up right. You could pin that if you want to. It's usually not necessary on fleece. It's got enough grab that it holds on to the back side. Lock our stitch and go for it. Now this is the curved edge, so this is the one we want to sew all the way. Lock our stitch. We're done there. And then we're going to go back and do that curve, because I don't like starting on a curve. So we'll hit this last little curve here. And just a couple to lock it. There we go. All right, now we're going to trim it only along the edges where we've sewn already. Leave everything else a little long. Take it down to about a 1/4 inch, 3/8. You don't want too much bunched up on the inside. And now, what you're going to want to do is cut a little relief right here. All right, and what that's going to allow us to do is tuck this extra bit under. So find that edge that you sewed all the way. We're going to cut from the outside right to where we stopped. Trim off this little corner here. You'll see later how that's going to be used. All right, now we need to reach our hand in and pull it inside out so that now we have the finished side out, and we'll work this seam until it's nice and flat and straight. You can even push that little extra bit out like that. And this is pretty much what we're left with. So we're going to try to sneak this guy in, and it should be kind of tight. You don't want it to fit loose. Work our hardware through. And just take your time, because the tighter everything fits, the better it'll look at the end. It just takes a little bit of finagling to get everything worked onto the visor when it's tight. Alrighty, looking pretty good so far. Can work it around so that the seams are where they're supposed to be. Pretty good. Now this tab here, you see how we did that? That was what we cut. Now we're going to tuck that, well, now we can cut some of the tail off and then tuck it, and that'll give us a nice finished look on an area where we couldn't sew. Not too bad, I tell you what, that's looking real nice. Let's move on to our last step. And for that, we're going to want to take this open edge and we're actually going to tuck it in between the two layers of the visor like this. All right. And the only thing we're going to leave open is a little window where we can push that through. And this is your opportunity to kind of pull any of the slack from the rest of it up, if there is any, and sort of tuck it in so that you have a nice uniform taut look. And what we're actually going to do is sew through both layers of fleece and both layers of that cardboardy backer material. Most sewing machines are going to be able to do this just fine. You might have to buy a thicker needle though, because there are different needle thicknesses, more that we'll go over in that basics video. And then what you want to do is line it up the same way with the edge of the foot on the edge of the fabric. The only difference is you're not going to drop the foot because of the thickness of everything that you're sewing through here. Once you're done, your finished product should look something like that. It's really just a little bit of a crease to help finish the one side and also hold everything from moving left to right. And then you really are pretty much done. We got a few areas we can kind of smush the fabric around, make sure that the creases are in the right place. We can tuck this little tab that we left up here, which gives this great finished look. Look at that. Look at how that looks. When you tuck her, use your scissors as a tuck tool. Nice little crease on that side. We're tucked in around the little tab there. Whole thing's uniform, no wrinkles, it's not bunched up anywhere. Worked around this thing beautifully, nice and clean. I don't know, bud. Might have to call her 10 out of 10. Let's get her in the truck. Hold up, hold up, hold up. I hear what you're saying. Doug, how in the fancy fork did you get that mirror in there? You didn't even touch that. Well, what you got to do is remove the trim when you're disassembling, all right? In this one, there were 4 little clips in these positions. Yours, there may be clips elsewhere. Just be gentle. Use that little pick to work it around. You pop the trim off. When you're finished, you cut the hole out and you pop the trim back in. It's so simple. I don't really know what else to say. I did that one as the proof of concept before I realized there was no mirror on the driver's side, or I would have done the one with the mirror, but it's easy. I tell you what, friends, this just finishes the look so well. I mean, life is just too short to drive boring vehicles if interesting vehicles is what you're into. I mean, I know some people that are just fine driving around in a beige Prius all day, and that's great. Those people probably have a much healthier financial situation than those of us who are chasing down race cars and classic pickup trucks and whatever other nonsense gets guys like you and me, and girls and gals, up in the morning. I'm telling you right now though, these visors are doing it for me. Oh my goodness. 10 out of 10, super inexpensive. Personally, I really like the idea of going with a slightly different fabric for the visor so that it's not so overpowering, and I don't know, it just adds an element to the truck. Having those be a little bit darker is 10 out of 10 in my opinion. Another more subdued version of all this would be like put a flannel headliner in and then put maybe accent colors, like maybe you got red and gray flannel and you put red fleece over the things. I've seen a lot of folks do that, but ultimately we're here to have fun. So I hope if you're doing this project, you're having a ton of fun with it. If you got any questions on how to get a headliner like this in, like I said, I've got that video. I'll leave a link up in the corner and down in the description. If you have any more questions on these sassy visors we just created, you can absolutely leave me a link or comment down in the squawk boxes. And I'll get right back to you just as soon as I can. If you like the video, that's common sense. Maybe subscribe to the channel. If you're enjoying our build, or it's not really a build as much as we're getting this first gen Dodge Dakota up to D&E standards, and that always involves an extremely loud headliner. If you're liking that, subscribe to the channel. We're still going to be doing all of our Jeep content as it comes up, so if you're a Jeeper, subscribe to the channel. Maybe go check out my website, monkeywithatoolbox.com. And that's all there is to it, friends. If you like following along with these projects, you can always follow me on Instagram, DE in the Garage. I'll leave a link to that as well. You get the sneak preview of what I'm working on before the video comes out. Lots and lots of stuff on this truck. Lots and lots of stuff on those WJs down there. There's a mess of them. You just can't see them. That's all there is to it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.